Does the Morrigan only witness the future, or does she also help shape and steer it? Well, Dag Eve agus Fáilte. Hi, hello, and welcome. Jon O'Sullivan from the Irish Pagan School. And this is a follow-on exploration from a question I did recently where I was talking about the idea or the role of fate and destiny when it comes to Irish pantheon and Irish deities. We have a lot of gods, goddesses, and even like druids or bards who engage in divinatory practices or prophecy or seeing the future. But that doesn't mean that things are set and defined from the moment you're born. We don't have the same like role of goddesses of fate or like Norns or the tree fates or anything like that at all. But it did lead to a bit of a follow-on question because we have the goddess of like one of the goddesses very prominently associated with prophecy is of course the Morrigan. But the Morrigan, when it comes to prophecy, isn't a passive individual. It's not just a case of someone having oracular visions and just letting people know what's going to be coming down the line, and that then allows other people or other heroes to go off and deal with certain things. The Morrigan is hands-on in every single aspect when we see her in the stories. And this is why I wanted to touch on this really, because it's not just I've seen the future and that's just the way it's going to be. The Morrigan sees the way things are shaping up and then takes direct action when it comes to arranging how things really should be. Which is from that other video I talked about, it's the accountability of the other world on our world. It is the role of these deities or those great powers in on Sail Ella, the other life, to help enforce rules and boundaries in our world, make sure that people are living to the right levels of accountability and sovereignty and hospitality as well. So all of these functions are in place and all of those are enforced by the other world, be it gods, guides, guardians, but also by the function of Gyasa or Gesh. Now, again, I'll link the other video I did down below, so it might help cross this over. But when it comes to the Morrigan specifically, she's not hands off. She is 100% hands on. And we have a number of different examples in the lore where we can see how she literally gets her hands bloody in regards to all of this. So one of my personal favorites is, of course, during the Second Battle of Moytura. So this is on the run up to the invasion of the Fomorians. We have the meeting of the men of the goddess where Nuada gathers Gwivnu, Oma, Dagda, Druids, cupbearers, all these people. He pulls them all aside and says, listen, we need to have a war council because there is going to be an invasion. And he asks them what they're going to bring to the table, what they're going to do. So it's in there in that moment that there's all of these grand promises, and Dagda says, everything you've promised, leave it to me, I'll take care of. And then no one disagrees with him. But the next step in the Dagda's plan is he needs more information. So he leaves the meeting of the men and the goddess and he travels across. It says he keeps a house in Glenetchin. And as he's on his way over there, he comes to the River Unshin. And this is where he meets the Morrigan. So the description of all of this is very much a ritual moment. She is standing bestride a ford, one leg on either side. She's undoing her braids. She's kind of, cleaning and cleansing herself in the waters. The entire thing is chock full of ritual imagery, liminality in so many different ways. And so it's not the Dagda stops by the river and perves on a naked woman washing herself. It's the Dagda waits outside of a ritual moment until he's called to step into that. And in the stepping in of that, they couple and they join in the ford, and then she speaks to him the prophecy. She tells him where the Fomorians are going to land. Now, in a lot of other classical circumstances, the hero receives the prophecy from the oracle and then he goes off and does what he has to do. That's not the case with the Morrigan. What follows after that is she makes a promise straight away that she will bring pretty much she's gonna fuck up one guy in particular. His name is Indech de Donal, and Indech is one of the war leaders of the Fomorians, and she promises that she will steal the valor from his kidneys and from his heart. So she's going to take his valor. She's going to take from him his abilities. And that's what she said. She says, I'm going to absolutely straight up do that. So then later on in the story, when we come to the gathering of the war hosts and the first coming day of battle, into that moment comes the Morrigan again, and she strides into the battlefield with two fistfuls of blood. Promise fulfilled. She rocks on in, two fistfuls of blood, and she delivers. I've taken the valor from his kidneys and from his heart. Now Indech is, I believe, slain by Oma in the battle. Now, because Oma, the champion of the Tuatha De Danann, says that he will slay nine kings and their entourage or their bodyguards, which he does. Famously, he kills Tethra. And we have that lovely image of him cleaning Tethra's sword, and the sword tells him all its stories. I think I'm gonna have to double check in the lore, but I think in one version of the story, because there is multiple versions, it is Alma who finally kills Indech. But in other versions, Indech isn't really mentioned after Morrigan rocking up with two fistfuls of fucking blood. So she is not hands off in any way, shape, or form. She is an active participant in steering how the direction of everything is going to go. We see this in another really, really prominent example later on. After the mythological cycle comes the Ulster cycle of our lore and our stories. The titular kind of main saga sitting inside that series of tales is, of course, the Táin Bó Regamna, the cattle raid of Cooley. So this is the one where Queen Maeve ends up in a bind because of Allel's boasting and braggartry and other men's assholery that leads to her needing to go on a raid and take a bull. But there is a pre-story, or what's known as a rave scale, which is the Táin Bó Regamna. And in the Táin Bó Regamna, we have a brilliant and amazing excerpt, which really shows the Morrigan's hand-on approach to everything as well. So I've taken a translation from it here. This is, I think it is the Stokes translation, or is it the Gray translation? One second, let me just check. Oh no, this is the Leahy translation. Yeah, so it's the source on this one is Heroic Romances of Ireland, Volume 2 edition and translation by A.H. Leahy. And so this is the Tom Beauregard. Now there are other translations out there. The one I have here is from the Yellow Book of Lecan, but again, there were multiple different books or tomes where these stories are told, written down. If you're looking for probably a better, more complete translation, I would recommend Morgan Daimler, who does amazing translations of all of these old stories. The reason why I took this one is that it's free use because it's so old. I didn't get Morgan's permission, so I'm not going to use their content without their permission. So in this one, again, I'm just pulling some excerpt from it, but it starts with um pretty much Cuchulainn is in his peak phase of fuckery. Let's call it that. And so he's roaming around the borders of Ulster, not even in Ulster. He's in other territories, picking fights and causing scraps. And so as he's out riding one day, he comes across this, and this is the imagery he sees. Then they saw the chariot come before them, and one chestnut horse in it. The horse was one-footed, and the pole of the chariot passed through the body of the horse till the wedge went through it to make it fast to its forehead. A red woman was in the chariot, and a red mantle about her. She had two red eyebrows, and a mantle fell between the two furta of her chariot behind till it struck upon the ground behind her. A great man was beside her in the chariot. A red cloak was upon him, and a forked staff of hazel at his back. He drove a cow in front of him. So Cuchulainn then sees this, not not picking up on the fact that this is some otherworldly shit straight away, and being Cuchulainn in his peak fuckery phase, decides to step into it. It's like he rocks up to them. It's like, that cow is not joyful at being driven by you, says Cuchulainn. The cow does not belong to you, said the woman. She is not the cow of any friend or acquaintance of yours. Cuchulainn replies, the cows of all Ulster are in my proper care. Dost thou give a decision about this cow? Said the woman. The task is too great, to which thy hand is set. So essentially, we have this setup where Cuchulainn comes across this very otherworldly setting. It is rife with all of the imagery. Now, again, nowadays, unless you're really aware of what the color red, the circumstances of Hazel. There's a lot of different things involved in that. Like now we'd have to maybe decipher it, but at the time, for an audience member reading or hearing this story being performed as it properly should have been by a bard standing and telling the tales, they would 100% know from just that description, this is some otherworldly shit, and maybe even specifically the Morrigan before anything else happens. Of course, Cullen doesn't. He gets into it. He starts saying, "Oh, well, all cows in Ulster, I have to look after them, and this cow is here." So, he starts getting stroppy about stuff and saying that he's gonna mess with them. It does go to the point that he starts to attack because Cuchulainn, that's his nature. That's how he has been raised and socialized. If in doubt, attack it. But when he does, the cart disappears, the chariot disappears, the cow disappears, the man and the woman disappear. But then there's just a black bird on a branch nearby, and he realizes, oh wow, okay, this is something else. And he actually says, "A dangerous or magical woman thou art," says Cuchulainn. And again, this black bird, indicative of the Morrigan as well. So she identifies herself and she says, "I brought this cow out of the fairy mound of Cruachan, that she might breed by the black bull of Cúlnia, that is the bull of Dara Mac Féachna. It is up to that time that thou art in life, so long as the calf which is in this cow's body is a yearling, and it is this that shall lead to the Táin Bó Regamna." So essentially, what this is saying in this pre-tale of the Táin Bó Cúailnge, the Táin Bó Regamna, there wouldn't be a Dun Cúailnge, there wouldn't be a brown bull in Cooley if it wasn't for the fact that this other cow, was brought from the other world and brought in. So there is other versions of the story where the Dun Cúailnge, now again, this is the black bull of Cúailnge is here, but also there's the black or brown can be crossed over. It's the Morrigan being involved in it. There's a later story after the Tom Boconia where the Dun Cúailnge, when it's older, the brown bull, when it's older, after its successful vanquishing of the white bull, the Fionn Vanach, does come across a young bull from the other world, and this other young bull from the other world is the one who slays the Dun Cúailnge, or the Dun Cúailnge slays that bull. So whether this is the birthing of the brown bull itself, or whether this is setting up for the demise of the brown bull, either which way, it is the Morrigan clearly showing that she is involved in this, taking a direct action, and it is this that shall lead to the Tombo Cunha. So at the end of this excerpt, she talks about the Tombo Cunha. Cuchulainn gets all, "Oh well, I'll be great. I'm actually going to be fantastic in that. I'm going to absolutely kill everybody in that." And she's like, "Yeah, okay." And it's here that she also says, I'm kind of watching over your death, pretty much. It's the heads up and the warning of, like, if you do this, if you go down this path, you are going to get fucked up and die. But of course, Cuchulainn, given all the opportunities to cop on and listen to sovereignty, to the other world, to the role of feminine divinity, completely ignores it because he's been socialized in the culture of toxic, harmful warriorship that was Con Cover or Crohor's Ulster. So there are other examples in the stories where we have the Morrigan or the Namarringya, because it's not just one embodiment of the Morrigan. There's also the Bive, which is one of the sisters of the Morrigan, and she appears in multiple forms as well. Um, in those other instances, it's less of a hands-on direct. Oh, sorry. Well, of course, there is the Tumboconia itself, the Morrigan promising and turning up to drive the herds of cattle against Cuchulainn in the ford, turning up as the she-wolf against Cuchulainn in the ford, becoming the eel. But then afterwards, also having suffered all the wounds from Cuchulainn, being healed by him as she gives him drinks of milk and he gives her blessings. So he undoes all the harm, again giving him an opportunity to cop on and open his eyes, which unfortunately he doesn't. So she is hands-on throughout all of the narratives. She's not some passive, separate entity who is just, "Oh, well, here is the visions of the future." She is like, "Okay, well, I see what's coming down the track, and this is the way I'm going to act in order to encourage it to go one way or provide consequences if it goes another way." And so the Morrigan is a very much hands-on, not in any way a passive deity, and someone who is worth paying attention to when she decides to have conversations with you or give you insights about how things may be coming down that way and what you need to do to prepare yourself or to steer so you can come out on top when it comes to that. So a lot of people refer to the Morrigan as a dark or scary or dangerous goddess. Yeah, absolutely. She is dangerous. It's said in the lore that she's dangerous, but she's only dangerous to those who actually don't listen. She's only dangerous to people who ignore the warnings, the information, and the education and the insights that she is offering. So, and even then, it's not that she's going to come for you or come after you or going to kill you. Absolutely not. She is, in a way, just a very direct, very forthright. If you turn left, you are going to, fall over. She's not going to stop you falling over. She has said if you turn left, you're going to fall over. So it's on you at that point because we all have free will and our own rights to our own personal sovereignty when it comes to these things too. So hopefully this has been interesting. I did turn into a bit of a ramble there at the end. Yeah, the Morrigan is definitely a hands-on deity. I have my own thoughts as to why specifically. There was multiple kings coming, with the Fomorian invasion. Why did she specifically pick on Indech? Personally, I think it's because she knew what Indech was going to do to the Dagda, but maybe more on that another time. Listen, thank you very much for being here. If you found this interesting, do make sure you check out all the rest of our free content here, wherever you're listening to this or seeing this, but also on the irishpagan.school/free. Whole lot of free resources for you there. And until next time, look after yourself. Take care. Agus Slán. Goodbye.